Welcome, everyone. We are here for Entrepreneurs International Network for our weekly event. My name is Becky Askerlin. I am the organizer here, and we are really excited for our speaker today. Each week, we bring speakers that we know and collaborate with that can bring some kind of valuable message and training for entrepreneurs here in our space. I appreciate all of you for taking the time to show up today and listening to our amazing expert. Today we have Jennie Bellinger. Jennie is a certified professional coach and the host of Badass Direct Sales Mastery Spot podcast. Top direct sales leader hire her for gift the time freedom to go along with their financial freedom because many leaders are doing far too much themselves. As an entrepreneur since 2010, she understands that the desire to contribute to your family's future and be present with them in the here and now, and how difficult balancing those two priorities can be. So, Jennie has learned the hard way while building two separate businesses, raising two kids, and navigating divorce to fulfill the need to provide financially and be there for her children. Her personal motto is I don't half ass anything, I badass everything. Okay, I really love that. Okay, sorry, divert moment. Um, Jennie is a two-time international selling author and an award-winning leader and podcast host. She is also known as the direct sales, is it Dome?
Dom.
Dom. Thank you. Luckily, as a certified professional coach, her methods are very effective and not painful. I would like to welcome you to the stage, Jennie. Let me bring you on. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to let you go ahead and just take it over.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm assuming you showed up because sales is something that maybe you want to get better at. Maybe sales is something that you are fearful of. And so you just want to improve. So, as we were mentioning when we first came in, if you haven't already dropped it in the chat, let us know what are you selling because that'll help me really tailor today's training to specifically what each of you is working in. So, I do my best to really make this personal for everybody. I do have. I'm sure you're going to be shocked about this. I do have a PowerPoint to help keep me on track, but I jump in and out of the PowerPoint just so that way, because I like to see faces and be able to check in with everybody to make sure that things are coming through. So looks like we've got a good variety of services and products that are being sold, which is pretty awesome. I love being able to change things up just a little bit when I can. So, we are here for sales is not a four-letter word because, in case you haven't already counted, it is in fact a five-letter word. But many people, as you know, when you talk about sales or when they talk about sales, they get that look on their face and they scrunch up their face and they're like, "Oh, sales, like, oh, yuck." But as many of us know, if you don't sell in your business, you are out of business. So, what I like to do is help people actually shift their mindsets around sales, learn how some better verbiage that can actually help them improve their sales process and make sales more comfortable and organic as much as possible. So, for those of you who don't know me, which I don't think I know anybody in the room yet, which is pretty cool. So here's a little bit about me, but I'm going to fly through this because you guys can Google me. It's not hard, but all this information is out there. But I've been doing workshop training since 2004. So I've literally trained thousands on sales, leadership, all those kinds of business things. In fact, BNI is one of my largest clients, helping business owners around the world actually get better at sales and networking. So, and I am also, as Becky mentioned, the host of the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast. So, if you want to learn more about sales, want to learn more about business, please, if you're a podcast listener, go take a listen. And if you like it, follow, subscribe. Would love to have you be able to get a little nugget of information as much as possible. So, we're going on 6 years now of the podcast. But enough about me. So, first thing I want to know is how do you feel about sales? So, open up the chat if you haven't already done so and tell me, how do you feel about sales? I want to see, like, I feel good, I don't like it. I do it because I have to. Okay, somebody's not super confident. Totally understand that. Sales is an opportunity. Good. Do it because I have to. Somebody loves it. Awesome. That's great. Don't like cold calls. Cold calls in sales. Not always the same thing, but I totally get it. I don't like cold calls, cold calls either. Um, it's a necessary evil. Yeah, it definitely sometimes feel like it can be, doesn't it? That's actually why I picked the image for this that I did. It's a little bit angelic if you're in the right mindset, but it also can feel a little bit like evil, right? Um, I like referrals, not sales. Yep, me too. Yep, Sean, you and I are on the same mindset there. I love referrals. They make sales so much easier because the sales conversation comes with that wonderful added benefit of that uh, borrowed trust from the person who made the introduction, right? So good to know that's how you guys feel about sales. So let me ask you this now. I want you to think of this from the customer, from you being a customer. How many great sales experiences can you list off the top of your head? So if you put a number in the chat, like how many times have you as the customer had an amazing sales experience? Like you're like, I would 100% buy from that person again. They were amazing. Like how many of those have you had? So drop those number in the chat. Many occasions. Okay, good. Too few. 5. Right. 3. Okay. Less than 10. Yeah. How about this? How many horrible experiences have you had as a customer? Many, countless, at least once a month. They're uncountable, right? Do you now get why you feel uncomfortable around sales? Because when you look at the balance, I'm going to stop my share here. When you look at the balance between the good sales experiences and the bad ones, it's like this, right? It's very unbalanced. And our brains are wired to protect us. So when we have a bad experience, when we have that negative, like, oh, that was gross, that was awful, I'd never want to go through that again. We don't want to replicate that, but we only have 4 or 5 or less than 10 great experiences to pull from that can definitely make the idea of us being in sales very uncomfortable, right? Because, well, I know I don't want to do this. I don't want to do the bad thing over here that all of those people did, right? So, what are some of the things that the bad people did? What made it such a bad experience? Let's start with that. So, in the chat, what made any one of those sales experiences bad? They were pushy. They didn't listen to the customer. They just talked. It's pretty common, by the way. I teach this almost every week, and this is very, very common. Let's see. They were negligent. They didn't have any class. They were in a rush. They were pushy for a service or product that I didn't need. A lack of sensitivity to my situation. Right? All of those make it very uncomfortable. Now think back to your best sales experience as a customer. What did that salesperson do? that made it so good, right? And while you guys are typing, I'll tell you one of the best sales experiences I ever had was buying the car that I currently drive. I've had this car for a very long time. I love it. It's the perfect car for me. I'm sad because I know I'm going to have to replace it this year, but I know who I'm going back to buy my car from because Rick was amazing. He talked to me. He didn't talk to my husband because he knew it was my car. I was going to be the one driving it. So he talked to me. He wanted to know why I wanted a car. What did I need in a car? What did I want in my car, in my vehicle? Right. So, what I'm seeing here, Amy says they listened. Francis says they connected. Adrian says clear on the product or service knowledge without expectations of a sale. Good. Very friendly, knowledgeable, easygoing, empathetic, accommodating, knows their stuff, understands the pain points. They were connected. These are all fantastic, right? So now you hopefully are beginning to get an idea of the kind of salesperson you want to be. Yes? But before we dig into that, I'm going to give you a tiny little history lesson. Very, very short history lesson, okay? I know you didn't come here for a history lesson, but I do find that oftentimes this helps people make the transition from sales is a necessary evil to sales is their favorite part of their business. And here's what it is. Sales actually comes from Old Germanic English, sala, and it means to transfer. It means to transfer. That's it. I have something that you need to solve a problem that you have. You have money, but no solution. Let's transfer my solution for your money. Right? It's a transfer. Okay. Now, I also know that knowing the history is not enough to change thoughts and beliefs around sales. So let's switch into that. So why do people feel gross? Well, because they felt, and you guys already addressed this, the people, the bad sales people that they were working with felt like they were begging for a buck. They were chasing the cha-ching. Or maybe you just felt that they were coming at you with dollar signs in their eyes. The transaction and the conversation and the outcome is all that they were concerned with. In their heads, they were thinking, if I don't close this sale, I'm going to lose this promotion. I'm not going to earn the incentive. I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. Notice how it was all about them. And when we see someone coming at us like this, we can sense that energy. Wouldn't you agree? We can feel the desperation because they treat it very differently. So now how do you get a conversation to go the right way? Well, it starts with your mindset. It starts with fully understanding that number one, what if you started out by believing that you are worth that sales conversation and that you have a product or service of value? Put a number one in the chat if you have a product or service of value. Okay, I'm seeing some ones. Good, good, good. Because if I didn't see that many ones, I was going to be kind of worried that you all were on the wrong call. Okay. So you already know, you believe that you have a product or service of value. You also are worth that conversation because the universe brought that person to you because it believed that you were the right person to provide that product or service for this potential customer. Yes? So knowing that, let's get into the actual, what do I say? How do I say it? What do I do? So the goal in a sales conversation is to get to know the other person. Get to know them. What are their goals? What are their needs? What are their wants? What problem are they concerned with solving? Because sales is service. You are helping them to solve a problem in their life. Yes? Give me a yes if you're solving a problem for somebody. Put it in the chat. Give me a Y, give me a yes, give me a something. All right, good. We are solving something for them, right? So, what I use to keep me on track when I am talking with someone new and they've booked a conversation with me because they believe that I may have something to offer to help them is I use form. FORM. Now, you probably have seen this before, but I'm going to teach you some new ways of addressing this because many times when people are addressing family, occupation, recreation, and motivation, they're asking the wrong question. I'm going to start with family, FORM, family, occupation, recreation, motivation. When you know these four things about someone, you can begin to understand who they are and have a better conversation with them. But instead of just saying, so how would you typically ask about somebody's family? Type it in the chat. How would you start a conversation about family? Do you have a family? How's life been? Do you have children? Do you have kids? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, depending on how you ask some of those questions, you might have accidentally stepped on a landmine that you didn't know existed. Because what if they just had a miscarriage? What if they just lost a child? You don't know, right? So, what I have found to be an easier way to bring up the topic of family, and it puts the power in their court to be able to share with you what they want, is to use the terminology or use the phrase, tell me about your family. That way they get to pick what they share with you. Tell me about your family. Now, here's the key. You want to be listening to what they share with you and how they share it. So I'm going to pretend to be two different people here. I'm going to give you one answer to tell me about your family, which is I have two kids, a fiance, two cats, and my family all lives here in the St. Louis area. Short and sweet, right? The other potential answer you may hear from someone is something like this. Oh, I live with my fiance. I have two kids. They're 17 and 13. They just got out of 10th grade and 7th grade. I have two cats, and my fiance has two kids. So I have two bonus daughters that I'm about to inherit when I get married. And my parents live about 5 minutes down the road from me. One of my sisters lives 2 minutes from me. My other sister lives an hour from me, and my brother lives right here in the area. What's the difference between those two answers? Yes, Adrian. Yes. Reserve versus open, right? Conversation versus information, detail, right? Second person shared and was super open. Second one is enthusiastic about family. Yes, right? Parent mindset versus siblings. Yes, exactly. So you want to be listening for those kinds of things because it tells you about the person, wouldn't you say? The more reserved somebody is, the less they share with you means they are slow to trust. The person who shares more with you up front is a fast to trust person. They're like, I'm going to tell you about practically my whole life. You guys could probably infer where I live based on some of what I told you. Because I told you all about me with both of those answers. Right? You want to be listening for what's the trust factor here? How much are they willing to trust? Because I will tell you, the person who is slow to trust, once they trust you, they are loyal to a fault. Takes longer to earn their loyalty. It takes longer to earn their trust. But once you have it, they will give you the benefit of the doubt if you drop the ball on something. The fast to trust person is also oftentimes the fast to lose trust. Make sense? Right? So already just in that first question, which isn't really a question, tell me about your family, it's a statement. Already you should have some basic information about this other person just past their family. You're listening for, are they telling me a lot of detail? Or are they giving me just a little bit? Right? Now, it could be that this has nothing to do with how much trust they have. And they're just look, I'm not here to talk about family. I'm here to fix my freaking interior design issue. Right? Makes sense? So they may be a very direct person. They're just like, let's get to this. Okay. The second one, occupation. Now, a lot of people would say, so what do you do? I find a more fun way to ask that question is, what do you do when you're not talking to me? They go, oh, well, again, it puts the power in their court. They get to pick what they share with you. So it might be that they tell you about what they do. Most people will default to what they do because of the habit of being asked, what do you do? And again, you're going to be listening for how much do they share with you? Because this will let you know, potentially, based on what they do, how much they have to spend. Right? There's a difference between talking to a cardiac surgeon versus mechanic versus an hourly employee at a retail store. Right? Those are different amounts of money that they have to work with. So you want to be listening for those kinds of things. What do they choose to share with you, and how much do they share with you when you ask, what do you do when you're not talking to me? Or as Adrienne says, what fills most of your days? Right? Now the key is to then do a follow-up question when they tell you what they do. Ask them what they love about what they do. And the reason you want to ask about what they love about what they do is because you want to be listening for verbiage that they're using, because it will tell you about them as a human being. How many of you are familiar with a variety of personality assessments? Might be DISC. It might be like, I know there's birds and sea animals and Myers-Briggs and all of that, right? My favorite is DISC. Okay, so I will be defaulting to DISC language. All right, DISC. All right. When you ask somebody, what do you love about what you do? The verbiage they use tells you their primary behavioral style. I love what I do because I get to talk to people all day long. That's a high I. I love what I do because every day is a little bit different. That's a high I. I love what I do because I get my clients results. That's a high D. I love what I do because I get to help people. That's a high S. I love what I do because I can literally help my clients learn all the different steps of their processes and get everything in the right order. That's a high C. What they love about what they do will tell you about who they are. When you can learn about who they are and how they show up in the world, a sales conversation becomes so much easier. Would you agree? Good. I see some nodding heads. This is awesome. Okay, good. And we're going to do a very similar thing with the recreation, the R. What do you love to do when you're not being a cardiac surgeon? What do you do when you're not at the hospital in the OR? And then again, the follow-up question, what do you love about what you do for fun? Because again, this gives you another key insight and will validate their primary way of being in the world. Make sense? And then motivation, for those of you who are in the coaching, consulting, it makes perfect sense for you to ask about motivation. But for those of you who are not in that world, in this case, you're not asking what their motivation is. You're asking what was their motivation to book this conversation with you. So I'm curious, why did you want to meet with me today? Right? What was their motivation to book the conversation with you? Now, keep in mind, we've been asking questions. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionally. How many of you have been in the sales world for a while and you've heard the phrase, he who talks the most loses? Right? Well, in this case, I like to think of it as winning. Everybody wins, right? Because when the client gets their problem solved, they win. Yes? You get a client, you win. What we're going for is a win-win here. But in order for you to know that you are the best person to solve their problem, you've got to ask some questions, right? You want to make sure you always have their best interest at heart and respect their boundaries, right? So I talk about permission-based selling. Permission-based selling. And this is how it goes. Once you've asked them, why did you book this conversation with me? And they start talking about the problem they have, and they believe that you might have the answer to their problem. You want to ask them more about the problem that they're having. Tell me more about that issue. Tell me, why is that a problem for you? What else have you done to try and solve this problem? And when you ask those questions, when they're sharing with you the pain that came with that problem, what you're going to do is you're going to start with empathy. And empathy is, I know it sounds crazy that I teach this every week, but empathy is as simple as saying, wow, that sounds awful. That sounds frustrating. That sounds like it sucks. That sounds whatever it may be. Now, if they've told you, if they've given you language that tells you how they feel about it, use that language back to them. You may have heard from people to paraphrase. No. When you are in sales, you parrot. And the reason that you want to parrot back to them is because if you try to paraphrase and you use a different word and you two have a different understanding of the definition of the new word that you threw in there, you could lose them as a customer. So you want to use their own words. So when they say, yeah, when I come home, I'm going to go to the interior design uh, example. When I come home, I don't feel like I'm at home. I feel out of place. It doesn't represent me. I just got divorced, so my house just looks like half of it's gone. And I just don't, I'm not happy there. It doesn't feel like home. So you, if you were an interior designer, could then say, wow, that sounds really difficult to come back to a place and not feel at home, to not feel like it's yours, for it to be empty, right? So after you empathize, then you can ask permission because at this point, through the conversation, you should now have an idea if you are the best person to solve their problem. And so once you've said, wow, that sounds awful, I believe I may have the solution. Would you be open to hearing more about it? I believe I may have the solution. Would you be open to hearing more about it? And the wording there is so important. I believe I may have a solution. Because there's a good chance, depending on what you offer, you may have 2 or 3 solutions at different price points. And then would you be open to hearing more? Well, first of all, nobody likes to appear closed-minded, especially when it comes to solving a problem, right? And then you can go ahead and offer to share the solution. At that point, if they say yes, then you share the answer, whatever that solution may be. Or if you have multiple solutions, then you can say, well, I've got A, B, or C as a possibility for you. Questions so far? What questions do you have about this? None? Okay, we're going to keep going then. But I know the feeling of not closing the right clients on a call. So can I share with you how my clients have increased their sales by an average of 48%? Would you like to hear that? All right. Well, as we all know, transformation takes time. It took me 15 years to learn all of these sales tidbits, tips, tactics, and techniques. And I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs transform their sales so that they now close as high as 88% of their conversations. And I can help you nail them in 6 months. So here's how you can transform. I have what's called the Sales Accelerator Program, and it has helped entrepreneurs just like you since 2023 be able to work through the process of improving their sales. This program, normally $7.99, but it's $4.99 if paid in full today, or $97 for 6 months. And fast action bonus, if you choose today that this is what you would like to do, I'm also offering the Manifesting Sales Success Guided Meditation and a Sales IQ assessment and consultation. Total of over $300 in additional value. Becky, if you would go ahead and drop the link in for anybody who's interested in looking at more. So, really quickly, bonus number one, the Manifesting Sales Success Guided Meditation is an 8-minute meditation that has helped create over $25,000 in new sales in the first 4 weeks that we actually released this meditation. But the sales IQ assessment, this is the key piece where most of my clients have gotten the most value. Because what we're able to do is break down through an actual assessment that looks at the 8 different parts of the sales process and takes a look at where the strengths are, where the areas of improvement may be, and where the weaknesses are that are actually keeping them from closing sales. Now I'm going to hop back to the Sales Accelerator Program here, because what this does is it offers weekly training, 26 bite-sized sessions to encourage continuous learning of different parts of the sales process, monthly coaching. So we do guided coaching calls with a sales expert, that would be me, once a month, where you get to come in and practice sales conversations, role play, and get additional training on the sales process. You have 24/7 access to me and as well as my 15 years of expertise in sales. So now, what questions do you have? I'm glad. Okay. Is there somebody who would like to practice a sales conversation with me? Do you want to do a role play? You can either volunteer in the chat or raise your digital hand if you know how to do that. Seriously, no one wants to get in front of a group of people who doesn't know they exist to be able to share what they do and maybe get a new client. There we go. Amy, go ahead and unmute. Come forward. Hello. Becky, can you spotlight Amy? Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Hey, so tell us what you do.
I work for a company in Calgary called Nature Mary. We're an all-natural topical pain relief company.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So, what I'd like to do is I'll role play as a potential customer for you. And I'd like you to walk us through that conversation that we just discussed, okay?
Yeah.
So, start whenever you're ready.
Well, you're a pharmacist, okay?
Oh, pharmacist. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good to know.
I'm targeting pharmacies right now.
Okay, good.
I would start by introducing myself. I would say, hi, I don't know your name. Hi, it's Amy calling from Nature Mary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Amy?
I'm good as well, thank you. I'm calling because we recently partnered with Whole Health. And we're offering a discount in hopes that you would bring our product into your front store of your pharmacy. Can I tell you more about it?
Sure.
Okay, so we are an all-natural pain relief, topical pain relief. Our company is right here in Canada, and all of our products are manufactured here as well. What makes us different is that we use a terpene complex. Because you're a pharmacist, you know what that means. We
Sure.
use a terpene complex, and we have no fillers, no menthol, no alcohol, nothing other than essential oils, natural oils, plant extracts, and seed extracts. Our product will target the same pain receptors as CBD, but without cannabis, which is our unique feature. Do
Very
you offer
interesting.
something like that currently in your pharmacy?
I'm gonna guess no.
Most likely, no.
Yeah.
So then I would say, I mean, right now I've already emailed all of them, so I would ask them if they'd have a time to review what I've sent. And a lot of them have not because pharmacists are super, super busy. The pharmacist is usually also the owner. So then I
Okay.
would offer to email them the information again, so it's in the top of their email, and say that I'm gonna follow up with you in the next 3 to 5 days.
Okay. So I liked how you started things in terms of making the close in that sales conversation. I think you would find more right now when you do that. How many pharmacists actually review the information?
Um, I would say out of 10 calls, I'll get maybe one that will say, oh, you sent me an email. Let me look for it right now while I'm
Hmm.
on the phone. Now,
Yep.
that's probably an exaggeration. It's probably 1 in 20. Will say,
Okay.
oh, let me look it up while I have you on the phone. And most of them will say, I haven't had time to review it, or I don't think I got it. Can you send it to me again?
Okay. So, what I would recommend that you do, so the information that you're sending them, is it a video? Is it a PDF? What's the
PDFs.
It's PDFs. Okay. So what I would recommend that you do that will help you convert more people to actually going and looking at the information is asking them when in their calendar are they going to review the information. Hey, when can you make 10 minutes in your schedule to review the information?
Okay.
Right? Because if it's going to take them 10 minutes to look through or 15 minutes, whatever the number is, right? I'm not saying it has to be 10, but however long you think it would take the average pharmacist owner to read through the information, ask them when in their schedule they would have time to review it.
Okay.
And the reason you want to do that is, first of all, then they're looking for the time because here, let me put this on gallery view really quickly for myself so I can see everybody. All right. For those of you who are on camera, how many of you live and die by what's on your calendar? If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't get done, right? So my guess is the pharmacists are probably the same way. So if you can get them to commit to a time when they can review it, then when you're following up with them after
Okay.
they've told you that they're going to review it. So they say, okay, well, it's Tuesday afternoon. Looking at my calendar, I can probably review it Thursday after work. Great.
Okay. And then I
I'll
would say, okay, I'll call you Friday.
Exactly. Perfect. I'll call you Friday morning so you have some time to look over it, think it through. You'll have some questions for me by Friday. What time on Friday would be good for me to call you?
Right.
Right? Because then you're more likely to actually get the close in that time period. Because now they've had time to review, they know you're going to call, and you've planted the seed to have questions ready.
Yeah. If that works, that would be really good. I feel like I will probably get pushback because
Mhm.
they're probably going to say, I don't know when I'm going to look at it because I'm super busy.
They may say that, yes. So it's just saying it's you're more likely to get more commitments and more people following through because if they tell you and they know you're going to call back and they're interested in what you've already had to offer, like if you've already said, look, it does these things, because one thing I didn't tell you guys, I am a former science teacher, so I understood like half of what you said.
Good.
Okay, so I was like, something that works on the CBD receptors that's not cannabis related.
Yes.
Ping, right? Like my guess is any pharmacist who's interested in something like that, they're going to want to go review that to figure that out, right? So I like that you included just that little bit of curiosity building
Right.
because unless they already know what else interacts with a CBD receptor on a cell, they're going to want to go look and find out, right? So with it being a cold call, yes, you're not going to have as high of a conversion rate, but you're much more likely to be able to get that when they block out their time.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yep. So, yes, good point, Andrew. Exactly. So, yeah. So, did that help, Amy?
It did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Very good. We have time for one more sales role play. Who else would like to practice a sales call and get some hints, tips, and tricks to be able to get more close rates? All righty then. Well, Becky, I'm going to call you back in.
All right. Shout out, Amy. That was awesome and very, very helpful. So thank you. Proud of you. A lot of you appreciate your courage. Jennie, amazing. Super helpful call. Thank you for your tips today. I encourage everybody to check out the Sales Accelerator Program. I'm going to put the link back in here for you. We will be sending out the recording shortly after this event. And just as a reminder, we look forward to seeing everybody for our next event. We host these weekly on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you for your time today. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye, everyone.